Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday, and hope you're looking forward to your weekend. I'm just doing a short talk on grieving your former self this morning. And when we grieve our former self, it actually means that we've changed. And this is a great thing. But it does not mean that we're not entitled to feel a loss or a sadness to who we once were. I think it's a really important and courageous step in life to keep going, keep growing and keep changing and becoming closer to who you really are, your true purpose, your true passions, your true loves in life, your true creativity, your true leadership, your true skills. And that is by living life. When we don't show up for life and we withdraw, we pull away because of fear or whatever that might be, we miss out on evolving. And it's funny, I always mention that human beings really seem to fear change, and I've been one of those as well, and I think change is linked with the unknown. But when we change it, we might change for the worse before we change for the better, but ultimately we're striving on this short period of life that we're blessed with to change and grow, to outgrow what we're not, to outgrow our conditioning, to outgrow any lack of self-worth, any limitations, any mental blocks that stops us living our potential, having our fullest lives, meeting the people we're meant to meet to help evolve us. So what can happen with that? We might be delighted that we've outgrown or outshed a part of who we've been forever, but that doesn't mean that we won't ultimately feel some kind of grief or loss. And I've had this where I've been delighted to go, I can't believe I made it past that, and then I became this person because of it. I think there's always a silver lining to a good old crisis where you can actually get a benefit from it by you evolve in yourself, you learn something, some wisdom. But there is that same thing of feeling a grief, a loss to what feels familiar, to what feels known. Even if that wasn't your best self, even if there's behaviours and parts that can be quite cringe, and you look back and think, what was I thinking? What was I doing? Or I didn't like that part of me. But we can still form some compassion or love for that part of our former selves, because those parts were important, even if they weren't our best parts. They were important because they helped us to get where we are. Maybe they helped to teach us something valuable about it's not okay to behave that way, or if you're going to allow something to happen, there will be a consequence, and things like that. But our former self can be an identity that we have attached to forever. And even if we evolve into a greater, truer self, that former self, there can be a loss. And I've felt it. I felt sadness to chapters, if you like. You could see it in stages of chapters of life that will never be again, that no matter how much I could try to go back to, will never be possible to go back to. Even though I know it's absolutely for my best self not to go back to previous chapters, there can still be a sadness. That's okay. So grieving your former self, you can afford to look your former self in the eye, shake hands with yourself, congratulate yourself, thank those parts that got you through, understand with love and compassion those parts that sank, that couldn't get through, that got stuck, that maybe had some behaviours that weren't your best days, but it still served its purpose. The key is to allow change and to evolve. So by grieving our former self, feeling a loss to our former chapters actually is a great marker that we have changed, we have grown, something is different, we're doing it a different way, whether it's our physical life or whether it's our personality. Usually the two go together. But if you can see that there's something to grieve, to let go of and say goodbye to, you've evolved. That's amazing. If you're finding that you're not grieving your former self because maybe you don't feel that you've changed hugely, maybe that's not happened yet or it's not been realised, don't worry. Start looking ahead. Who would you like to be? Do you know who you are? That's the big question. Do any of us really? We get closer and closer and closer to understanding who we are by going through the experiences we go through and realising what doesn't work. And then if we have the courage, we can look ourselves in the mirror and go, what part did I play in that not working out? And then you work with healing that part. That's how you evolve into your greater self, because you gain clarity and wisdom. But it takes courage to look in that mirror, really honestly. And I always say, do it with humour. Have a laugh at the bits that you did wrong. have a laugh at the mistakes you made, have a laugh at the wrong words that came out of your mouth, because you can always apologise. Find humour in being human. Have a good weekend.